Good morning, this to today's webinar. Before we invite our facilitator to anchor today's webinar, I would read his citation. Dr. Wadzani Dauda, a researcher, academic mentor, and life coach, currently serving as a faculty member at the Federal University, Gashua, Nigeria. His illustrious career is marked by over 100 scholarly publications, reflecting his unwavering commitment to advancing scientific discourse. Dr. Dauda holds esteemed positions, including an editorial board membership for Springer Nature and Francis and Elsevier journals. Recognized for his scholarly eminence, Dr. Dauda has received accolades and grants from prestigious organizations such as the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, UNESCO, Regeneron, American Phytopathological Society, American Society of Microbiology Technology, India, World Academy of Science, Italy, Tertiary Education Trust Fund, and the prestigious MJ Tirumalakar Merit Award for Young Scientists in 2022. Due to the significant nature of his noteworthy achievements, it is unsurprising that he has been offered postdoctoral positions in esteemed academic research laboratories at Louisiana State University, United States of America, Hebrew University of Jerusalem, Czech Republic, and Indian Institute of Technology, Mandi, India. Dr. Dauda is currently a TWAS DBT postdoctoral research fellow at the famous Indian Institute of Technology, Mandi. His extensive research interests encompass diverse domains, including disease detection, mycotoxicology, agricultural microbiology, genome editing, and bioinformatics. Dr. Dauda's intellectual versatility is further highlighted by his memberships in renowned societies such as the American Biology, International Society for Computational Biology, International Society for Molecular Plant Microbe Interactions, Society for Applied Microbiology, American Phytopathological Society, the American Society for Microbiology, the Nigerian Young Academy, and the Royal Society of the United Kingdom. He holds the esteemed title of Fellow of the Society for Plant Research. Dr. Dauda is the Director of Research and Development at the Academic and Grant Writing Enclave. Dr. Dauda's collaborative endeavors fostering intellectual exchange with research groups in leading universities. In essence, he stands as an exemplar of scholarly excellence, illuminating the paths of scientific inquiry and leaving an indelible mark on the annals of academia. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished, I welcome Dr. Wadzani Dauda for today's presentation. You're welcome, sir.
All right. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. It's great to have all of us here today. This very important discourse. I guess we will have great value for our time. And thank you so much for staying with us and giving us your precious time this early morning or afternoon or evening, as the case might be, depending on which part of the globe you are connecting from. So moving forward, this is a sequel to the previous webinar we held the other time, where we talked about, how to write grant proposal. So this is a follow-up to what we discussed based on the feedbacks, the comments, and the requests that were made in the feedback form. So we decided that let's put up a follow-up discussion on that. So a quick recap of what happened previously. For those who were not present, we began defining what an NGO is, what it stands for, what it does, and what are the various aspects of NGOs. What do they exactly mean? Non-governmental organization, as the case might be. They are not government, but they perform roles, great roles that ideally governments ought to be performing. But they are not governmental, but they perform governmental roles. That's why that term is actually use. So understanding from there and moving forward, we looked at purposes why NGOs are established in the first place, top 20 social welfare initiatives, human rights promotion, environmental conservation, disaster relief response, healthcare provisions, and you know, educational skills development, and several other features which we discussed at length previously. And very, very importantly, it just tells you how wide the scope of an NGO is. And many of the NGOs that are here are doing one of those things or the other, or sometimes a combination of two. And so moving forward, we also looked at the motives and mindset that every NGO should strive to have, from the executive director, not just from the executive director, from the board of, what do you call it? The board of directors, the executive director, and all the executives involved, including the cleaner in that NGO. There's a mindset that they ought to have. And if that mindset is not there, the officials ought to work towards seeing how to inculcate that mindset in everyone. Purpose, being purpose driven, having empathy, sustainability consciousness, having a collaborative and partnership mindset, having transparency and accountability. We looked at all of those things in great detail: adaptability and innovation to situations, being community-centric, being capacity-driven towards capacity development, building. This is mostly, the responsibility here, of course, is mostly for the top officials, the cultural sensitivity, resilience, and the likes of it. Resilience, because a non-profit organization is not, that's why it's not a profit-making organization. So they don't have like a market where everybody is expected that whether it is in the morning, in the afternoon, in the evening, people are supposed to be getting salary. Every of the staff should understand it works by donation. So sometimes if there are seasons where there are no grants currently going on, the staff have to understand, the executives have to understand. So there are so many things that are involved here. Sometimes the project, going on in the project, one or two challenges that might come on the field. So this is where resilience and perseverance actually comes into play, defining what exactly are grants, and what they are not. Very importantly, grants are competitive, which is a very strong fact. And grants are not free donations. Yes, they look free, but they are not free donations. They are donations who are given for a specific task to do. I was making a presentation some times ago at the National Open University of Nigeria under the invitation of the Vice Chancellor. And when I finished presenting to all the faculties, the distinguished professors, someone asked a question that, but when you say grants are not free money, I mean, they are not, people should not apply grant with money in view. Why that? And that I answered the question because the fact is, now people, when you do anything with money in mind, the tendency of your hands being clean, of your methods being clean, of your approach being clean, is not so guaranteed, because you will do everything to make sure that you make that money, right? So that is the thing. The money would come, but that shouldn't be, especially for a non-profit organization, right? And what is a grant? We define the grant, what it stands for. Should you apply for grant? Fundamental questions to ask yourself. Before you decide to apply for a grant, several questions. Are we able to invest necessary resources into grant writing proposals? Very importantly, because if you are not really ready to invest time, writing grant proposals takes a great while. Last week? Yes, last week, I woke up one morning, and by afternoon I checked my major social media platforms, ResearchGate and LinkedIn that afternoon, and I saw, someone was writing me email, writing on ResearchGate, writing on LinkedIn. I mean, the same person, the same message. The message was just everywhere. And what was it? Okay, there's this grand call I saw. I needed an input, I needed guidance. How do I go about it and all of that? So I had to call the person. I mean, I was busy that day, but somehow I had to just chat up the person because the thing was really, I mean, the desperation was just amazing. So putting a call, and we discussing, and we saw that there was a great grant that was available. In fact, the person was on direct invitation to apply for the grant. So when I looked at the grant document and saw everything, and the deadline was just in 2 weeks' time. I was very blunt to the fellow that yes, this is a great grant, but do you have these? You have these, you have these, you have these, some of the basic formalities. Then when you settle all of those things, so put up a grant in 2 weeks, a grant proposal writing is tough, except maybe you struck down everything you are doing, and that's what you are doing day and night, because it needs time and resources. So those are some of the fundamental questions and things we looked at before when you are putting up a grant proposals. And we looked at several of those factors up to, the seventh one here. You see, do you have outcome related to your past work? How healthy are those outcomes, and how valid are those outcomes? Because those are the evidence you would show that yes, I demand further donations to move on with this drive. Writing grant proposals, why you should do it, how you should do it. We looked at all of those things in great detail, and to whom the fit between your concepts, your organization, and the funding agency. Very important. The how, writing grant proposals, how do you propose? Yes. Is it the boy that is supposed to kneel down, or the girl that is supposed to kneel down? And what is the best way to propose? Well, the main thing is there is a proposal, whichever way. And which one you decide, that's your opinion. But then your grant proposal is the only document that the donors see to decide whether they are giving you or not. So you see this guy kneeling down, or this girl kneeling down, and that is the time to make a manifesto. So that's how it sounds, right? And so we looked at all of those things, and the thoughts, the preparation, the idea, how to identify a great grant idea, looking at a great gap to fill, the idea of fit, the project idea, how it's to fit the community demand, needs identification by expert, availability of resources. These are some of the models that most donors use in scoring. Very important. The great ideas, the logical framework. We looked at logical framework in brief then. So we now came to how to sourcing out the right funding source, which is a spillover of what we're going to discuss today in detail. Now, remember, where we looked at proposal is often the only way for donors to choose to reject whether your funding, packaging your proposals, logical framework. We looked at that then in detail. The checklists you should ought to check when submitting your proposals. What are the various checklists to look at in detail? What are the things to avoid? What are the items to avoid? Then editing and layout of your proposals, however the case might be. Some, of course, literally most of the international donors the funding agencies give you their guidelines. You need to follow those guidelines, prepare it adequately, but some of the major things to look at, to pay attention to, are some of those items that are listed here. And I was emphasizing that day that you must ensure that your grammar, your spellings are accurate. I mean, because it really pisses, especially people from the West, when you have basic issues with English, right? I mean, not even you yourself. If someone is writing to you and the whole structure, the grammar is just poor, it just tells you the person didn't really take due diligence in this. And so the structure of the proposals, the items here that are listed could come in various orders, but generally grant proposals encompass these items: executive summary, CV, organization description, project account, beneficiaries, methodology, budgets, monitoring and evaluation system, sustainability and annexure files, which are all usually contain evidences to support many of the claims that were listed in the application. So, the executive summary, what it will entail, what are the components it contain, what are the main things they look forward to, because your proposal will be stored along with hundreds of other documents. So you imagine yourself, if you are getting several documents at the screen. I, I start, I screen require as an editorial board member in various procedures. Many times, you get journals requests, you get journals from different authors. Like every week, you get requests, and some of those things, the first thing the editor is person, right? So those kind of busy person, they just look, and if the person writing the paper, the people writing the submission are not writing it properly, the person won't devote time to even look at it in detail. You just move on, just by reading that, whether we call it abstract and research paper writing or executive summary. That's, in fact, sometimes that's the only thing they read to determine whether they are going to read further what you've written or not. But you should answer the why, what, the where, why, the whom, with whom, for how long. So these things should be fundamental and should be clearly spelled out. Presentation of the organization, how you structure your organization, what are the items to put, what are the things that should be there, and what are the things that shouldn't be there. Then, in proper contents of it, the detail of it, of course, your philosophy, your mindset, your mission, it should be clear. The people should know who you are in brief, not so lengthy. No one have time to read so much verbosting. Be precise and to the point. The content, the project background, what are the things, the quick tip to look at. We looked at all of those things in great detail in the previous discussion. The problem statement, how to structure, how to set in your goals and objectives, precisely the SMART goal measurement, which we looked at that day, and the beneficiaries, who are they, what are they, how are they, how many of them. These things should be clear. And we also said that you should, as much as you're trying to showcase yourself, you shouldn't exaggerate. And in as much as you're trying to be straight to the point, you shouldn't underwrite or write below what you've done and just limit yourself, right? Methodology, the items, the partners, how you are to structure your writing, implementation of the proposal. How do you plan to implement this great idea with this method? How do you really plan to implement it? What are the risk factors? What are the things that they should be involved? What will be done? How? By whom? Where? By when? So these are the items. Timeline, of the whole project. Very, very important. And so these are some of the major items that ought to be in precise detail. Monitoring and evaluation, which is a very, 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 very important component that every donor really look at. The people screening. Don't forget, like I said, the people that are screening your proposals are not only, many times they don't know you, and your proposal is not the only document they are screening, and so they have very short time to really do anything. So in the flip of those seconds or minutes, they look at your submission. They want to be sure that there is a proper monitoring and evaluation. And based on how you structure your monitor, some people take this session very casually. But what you don't understand is that if you are not able to prove to me that if I give you this money, you have a system to know whether the utilization of this money is being utilized properly or not, you don't have a precise structure to tell me that this fund I'm giving you, you are going to judiciously use it and you are going to ensure that it is secured. That's why they ask for your bank information. That's why they ask you to do those due diligence and all of that. The reason is because they want to be sure that you are not going to be, like somebody, I was giving a grant proposal workshop some times back, and someone asked me a question that You mean people can write grant like that and win this amount of money, that if he wins thousands of dollars, he will just log out off everything and travel out of the country and go somewhere and go and I told the fellow, I said that we can't give people like you because the mindset is distorted, right? So sustainability, very, very important component also. Great things you write and all of it. So what next when the project phase have ended? Is that the whole phase? Does it just end like that? What ends? What happens in sustainability? Even if your NGO, your drive is that particular proposal you're writing is to donate money to a group of people. The understanding is that even though you are donating money to a group of people, the understanding is that what happens to the persons after that period have ended? You have to really look at the sustainability of that project. And that sustainability section, which many donors have that section, you have to look at very carefully. So the annexer files, what are the items that be contained in the compositions? Like I said, the annexer files are, or appendix, as the case might be, they are evidences to authenticate and to substantiate either of the claims you've stipulated in your executive summary, the presentation of the organization, the project background, the problem statement, the goals and objectives, the beneficiaries, all of the components above, the evidence that supports these claims are what comes in the annexer or the appendix files as the case might be. So quick tips, like I said, you have to be very specific and stipulate where necessary. The checklists to look at before submitting, before writing your proposals, is the stakeholder analysis done and complete, and several other features which we looked at in great detail in our last class or in our last webinar. When drafting the proposals, what are the checklists to look at? Have I really responded to the donor's criteria? Have I met the criteria? Have I put the information in their correct positions? Have I corrected all the spelling mistakes? Is the structure as it is required? These are the items to really look at. Then packaging, the cover letter, the project proposal, requested attachment. Sometimes they request some attachment, please provide. Some people have a habit of, well, I just give whatever I have, and no, it's a competition. One of my professors used to tell me that when you are competing for anything, you are submitting a grant, you are presenting for presentation, you are giving a talk or so. Once you are already, you are out, you are making the speech, you are submitting the document, you should know that that's the final. You see, Usain Bolt was writing somewhere that he trained for 4 years to run for 4 minutes. A student will be in exam will resume school in the university now for 4 or 3 months, as the case might be, only to write a 2 hours exam at the end of that 4 months. So that period where you are submitting your proposal, you should know that should be its best. You shouldn't give space, you didn't give time. That's why even if sometimes, let's say your non-profit, your NGO, you are busy with several things and you submit I was discussing with one of the chief executives of one of the non-profit organizations recently, Nigeria, and we're having a discussion, and the person was like, yes, we had so many things to do, so we had to give it to a consultant to meet up with deadline because we have other things to catch up. But even that, we still have to look at what the consultant wrote to make sure it fits what we are doing. That's a sign of excellence, because you don't assume like I will just do it and I leave it to be. No, it shows that you are not really very careful with submission. So the packaging should be your best. Then on what we are going to be discussing today, like I said, which is a sequel to what we've discussed in our last webinar, how to identify the perfect funding partners for your non-profit organizations. How do you find partners? How do you spot them? What are the things? What's the rules of engagement, right? So how do we go about that? First things first. Again, a clear recap. A non-profit organization is an entity that exists to further a social cause and provides a public benefit. Don't forget, that is who you are. And that's what you are doing. So you are first furthering a social cause. That social cause could be environmental, could be human, could be on farmer, could be anything, could be on animals, right? And provide a public benefit. That's what you do. Your roles, like we discussed previously, humanitarian work, economic development, education, public health, environmental work, social development, agriculture, literacy. There are NGOs which are in anti-corruption. Related works, disaster relief, consultation, several other roles that non-profits play. So in grants, right, most of the donations non-profit organizations receive are from grants, major sources now. Online fundraising, sometimes it happens, it depends on sometimes the country, the region, and the organogram of that NGO, individual donations, which I will talk to us on how individual donations can come in for non-profit organizations, right? Offline outreaches, sometimes you could go do an outreach after the end of your work, and someone in that community could decide, oh, this project is ended, you are giving your final, why can't I, let me put in some resources, could come from offline outreaches, events, corporate philanthropy. These are some of the major, like I said, not all major sources, non-profit organizations receive donations. So how do you do? Number one, your ability to research and identify potential partners. And how do you go about that? The first strategy is, of course, utilizing online database. Explore online database. There are several of them, literally several of them. There are just few examples I wrote. But you should utilize online database. That's why I said your mission and your what exactly you do. You search online database. Some of those databases have a consortia of let of those non-profit organizations, donors. Not just that, attending networking events, conferences, workshops are where you find donors. Because the reason why people attend conferences is not really, all right, let me take our time to just go rest. No, it's a time to network. It's a time to meet person. And at any time you're giving a slot, let's say to make it, and when you go for those donors, when you go for those kind of functions, you don't mute yourself, right? One of the popular quotes I love using is a passage in the Holy Book, in the Bible, where it said, there's no man that doeth something in secret and seeketh to be known. I mean, if you want to be known, you have to talk, you have to express yourself, right? You have to, you just imagine you came to this webinar and I'm just flipping through the slides to you. You'll be bored, right? So when you attend those events, you'll be vocal, you'll be expressive, not being loquacious, no, but you should be prominent either with asking a question or responding to a comment or find a way to get, and that's a discussion for another day. And we have, several sessions for that. So attending events is one of the ways you get donors. Seeking for referral. Sometimes you would want to contact a new donor, and some of the times they will require you to introduce yourself. And if you're introducing yourself, sometimes apart from giving your company, your organization profile, some other times it could require that giving a referee. Some of those referees, the best way to get them, if you could get, from your previous donor. That, because especially in the West, the fact is that, in the West, like what they deal with, they respect referees reports a lot, and they made it such that most of the times it's the referees that send it, because even on admission for postgraduate admissions, they look for referees reports. They respect it so much because for them, it tells them that this is what this person thinks about you, not what you think about yourself. So sometimes getting those referrals from your previous donor partners is awesome. I mean, it establishes to the new donor that you are a credible person, right? So when it is time to seek for referrals, please don't get referrals. Don't seek for referrals from general persons, your uncle, your auntie, your imam, your pastor. No, those are good in themselves. There are times where some organizations stipulate those kind of categories of persons, but please, if you have to seek for referrals, get it from your previous donors. It helps, it makes great sense. So then, reviewing their annual reports, your prospective new donors, their annual reports of your potential partners to understand their financial health, their giving partners, and their current area of focus. Very important, because if they have moved from this aspect of work and you are busy writing to them or contacting them to fund that aspect, they are not going to respond to you because they believe their understanding is you have not done due diligence to check what is their current drive. So looking at their annual report, and that helps you to form in your discussion. And even when you meet those kind of persons in workshop, physically or online, these are the areas to talk about. Now, engaging with local communities is one of the ways to get potential partners like local businesses, community foundations, government agencies. These are some of the ways you could get partners locally within your immediate environment. So then, like I said, you need to understand your organization mission and values, and that forms how, who, where you make your contact. Now, the next point is building relationship with your potential partners. How do you build relationship? You make first contact, you meet the person online, you meet the person on LinkedIn. If you are not on LinkedIn as a non-profit organization, especially as the executive director, you just have to be on that LinkedIn today, because yeah, Facebook is there and all those other platforms, but the fact is, please be active on professional platforms. Some of the times, many of those linkages could come from LinkedIn. If especially as the executive director of that organization, I would strongly suggest we have, like in age, we have, amazing personals who could help you with that. Your LinkedIn, the branding, the structuring of your LinkedIn page is very important. And because the caliber of persons you follow, sometimes you could see the chief executive of that donor agency or the director, one of the directors, and you see what they are doing, you make contact with them. All right. I'm emphasizing that because I can tell you a lot of persons I've known receive direct, what do you call it, invitation grant from this kind of contact. Yes, you engage with them. When they write a post, you make good comments, you make logical, not this way we do commenting on Facebook. When somebody write, okay, yeah, no, that's Facebook is a social, people, like the name it takes is face, it's so, but which is okay in its own sense. But then if you are really going to, as the board of directors or the chief executive or the project manager or so, especially the executive, that's what I'm talking, the executive director now, please be active on LinkedIn. Engage with great fellows, and try, if you can, try to subscribe to premium where you can send direct in-lead message to a person. I mean, you could write to the person, you'll be surprised. The person will respond. Sometimes they don't respond, sometimes they respond, and you engage with them. And this is what we do, because sometimes to get their email is difficult. And even when you get their email, they receive hundreds of emails in a day. So on our LinkedIn, they come there, they check what's going on, they see your message, you structure it concise to the point. The person looks at it, finds it interesting, and will tell you, let's discuss further. All right, this is what we do. We have done this, we've done this. Oh, right. Oh, this is what we are trying to do. Don't, when you are coming and making contact with those donors, you don't come like you are looking for a need. You come more like you want to. Anyway, I'll discuss that in the next slide. You are coming not with a problem. You are coming like, I am also, we've done this. We love what you are doing. Be more focused on the donor not yourself. I'll discuss that later in the next slide. But then, how do you build relationship when you make those contacts? Engaging proactively, right? What does that mean? What does it mean to actually engage proactively? When you, like I said, networking events, social media platform, especially uh, LinkedIn, right? Establish rapport, trying to show genuine interest in what they are doing. You've seen that the chief executive of that, let's say it is UNICEF or so, one of the directors wrote a post on LinkedIn of how they did this, of how they did this, of how some of the agencies they funded, they've done this, they've done this. Let me tell you the truth with social media. Anybody you comment on their posts, they know your name. That's the truth. Especially if they check that post, they will see your name, obviously. So they will see your name. And if that name keeps appearing frequently, they will associate you with one of their fans, with one of, and you don't do it so, immaturely, so like the way you don't, no, make it very professional, make it very decent, make it, sometimes it could just be you like, sometimes you make feedback, make comment. Before you know, the person will be, oh, who is this person that seems interested in what we are doing? And by that engagement, sometimes you could make a comment and they will respond to you. You follow up on it. Before you know, I've made tons of friends globally from those kind of ways of engagement. Just telling you the fact. So please establish meaningful discussions. Don't discuss about, yes, okay, we are finished. We are upcoming new non-profit organization. We just got our first donation. We have not been able to secure any funding, and now our staff are complaining. They are even planning to leave us. And no, 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 no. You don't sound like that. Very professional. Follow up and maintain communication. Even after your initial, once in a while, make communication. They will tell, even if they don't tell you, I'm telling you now the rules of the game. You keep your name in their mind, one way or the other. That helps greatly. So next, like I said, like the point I was trying to explain, if it happens that you could have, the contact of the non-profit, the donor, you could just make a thank you call. Always try to be, you don't put requests as the premium, as your first line of direction, right? So how do you build that relationship? You focus on your donors. That's the point I was trying to say earlier. While it may seem like, why should I focus on my donor and not on what I do? The reason is because your organization wouldn't, if without those donors, your organization would not exist in the first place. So recognizing them is an essential part of the cause and can increase the number of donations you will get from them. So you put the focus in your discussion on them. Oh, you're doing this, you're doing this great work, it's great, and all of that. They will now be the ones to now, so you will tell them when it is time for you to now tell them what you are doing in detail, you will explain it with precision, with excellence, with confidence, whether you are writing it or you are saying it to them verbally. Now, listening to your donors, sometimes, especially people in the West, especially the females among them, they talk a lot, they say so many things. Try to listen. You don't try to, these are basic rules of, you see people, you see, maybe I really want to tell the person quickly. No, you try to listen to them. What are their cause of interest, and how will they, like, what are the things, how do they think, what are their line of interest? So these are the things you listen, and it forms how the next follow-up questions you are. So when they find you, right, when they find you interesting, they will be the ones to tell you, please keep in touch. Ways to keep in touch: email, newsletters, the 7-touch rules. The 7-touch rule is that at the end of a year, you should have 7 contacts with your donors. This 7 contact does not include fundraising. I mean, a contact, an email, newsletter, a thank you letter, progress report, annual report, invitation to event, the 7-touch rule. So next that we will be looking at is showcasing impact effectively. How do you showcase your impact effectively? data-driven narratives, illustrating tangible results and benefits of what you've done previously. Especially on social media platforms, testimonials, success stories, visual representations, interactive platforms, storytelling techniques. You get the fact is the social media manager of your profit organization plays a great role in what happens because you a lot people get to see what you are doing, and it's not everyone that really comments or like, not really. Many of them just read it and be marking you. Then when you now realize, I remember I was trying to contact one of the distinguished professors to come give a webinar in age, and very respected personality. I mean, I've seen the fellow with, so I just wrote the person on LinkedIn, just drop a short LinkedIn message. I want to do this, want to do this, want to invite you to give a talk on this. And the person wrote back to me, oh, Dr. Wadzani, I followed you. I've seen what you've been doing. I'm amazed at how, this, that. It will be great honor from, and that ends. So that's just it. And the person I've never liked or commented anytime, anywhere on any of the posts I wrote or whatever I've written. So that is why it's very important. Developing a comprehensive funding strategy, establish timelines, requirement, tailor funding proposals, diversify sometimes funding sources if needs be, if it's allowable under your organization, constituent, your country, your region, as the case might be. You try to diversify. You don't rely on only one source. You try to diversify either of those points I mentioned to you earlier. So next is cultivating donor relationship for long-term support. Personalized engagement, try as much as possible. You sending those thank you notes, sending those appreciation notes, get feedback. Try to be very, of course, being transparent in even on your website, in what you say, what you write, right? Recognition, you recognize what they've done and really celebrate them, right? Make them proud, make them excited, make them happy. And that's why if you don't need to really wait until when they come for spot check that you okay with. No, you try to ensure that you really did what you proposed to do and beyond that. So because the fact is that donation is more of relationship. That's the truth. Yes, relationship plays a great deal on that. If you've established great relationship with a particular donor and they get some funds, and let's say the year is coming to the financial year is coming to an end, and in order to clear the donations they have under them, the first persons they will think about to contact to apply for those donations are you. When you have been asked personally, as a personal principle, right? If I'm giving, let's say, a project, something to conduct, to carry out, I usually ensure that I do beyond what I've written in that proposal. And you always see the donors will be very happy. I mean, yes, we've done that. This is what we've written to do. We've covered that and all of that. Some other times they follow up. We've done this on our own. The project have ended, but we went further to do this, to further need to do this and all of that. It helps a lot. It tells a person how passionate you are with it itself. Nascent technology for enhanced fundraising and donor management. Online fundraising, as the case might be, like I said, if it's allowable under your certain mission, the purpose, your connection, if it's allowable, social media campaigns, developing engaging campaigns on platforms like Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn to raise awareness. Sometimes someone could just look at what you've done and he feels that, oh, these guys are writing an update report of what they've done to impact farmers, to impact pregnant women, to impact these, and the project is coming to an end. Okay, let me engage with them. Let me send them this money to further on to round it up. It happens like that. Email marketing, like I said, engaging and telling everyone on your campaign what you have done. Strengthening funding effort through collaborations, very important. Joint fundraising initiatives. You would sometimes, especially a new upcoming non-profit organizations, it's very important you partner with those ones that are a bit all in the system, it helps you to learn the ropes, gradually with them, and practice sharing events, try to be engaging, right? And this helps to refine your own fundraising approaches and stay competitive in your non-profit sector. It keeps you to know, right, that these are the items and this is how this is done. This is how proposals are written. This is how they sustain relationship, trade secrets, and all, right? And especially for the new non-profit organizations, in age we have a mentorship platform which will be discussed later on. You know, it helps to know what are the things I need to know, right? Every expert was once a learner, and when you are learning, ensure you are learning properly. That's the main thing. So the power of non-profit partnership is that it provides an opportunity for your organization to tap into the expertise and knowledge of others, those who have gone behind, how they manage it, how they do it, how do they keep in touch, because those trade secrets. I know a particular executive director on one non-profit organization. They literally receive funding left, right, and center. And the secret is just these basic things I told you. Many a times, some of us, it's not really that we've not gotten those donors, but sometimes the way you manage the relationship, it's either you are overdoing it or you are underdoing it, whichever way. But with these few points to really look at, you need to take note to know how to keep. The rule of the game is keep the name of your non-profit organization in their mind, the impact of what you are doing, right? Ladies and gentlemen, with these few points, I guess we would be able to make profitable utilization of the access, sources, and opportunities we have in sourcing for funding for our non-profit organization. So thank you so much for listening.